So welcome to Amazing Food and Drink, and I'm delighted to have the MD of Wilde Irish Chocolates with us today, Trish Farrell. How you doing, Trish?
I'm doing okay so far, hopefully anyway.
Good, you're very welcome along, and I can't wait to hear your story. So start off by telling us a bit about yourself and your background, Trish.
Yeah, I don't have a background in the food business. I just have to establish that at the very beginning. So, I mean, my original life journey started way back in Dublin. I'm not actually from the place where I currently live, which is in County Clare, but I'm from the inner city in Dublin and started off there, good far too many years ago. I don't want to tell you how many years ago, but went into college, did a master's degree in geography, historical, stuff like that, ideally suiting me for working in the tourism industry or heritage tourism or something like that. So in fact, that's where I actually started my working career, in the tourism industry. I worked in the Burren, a little bit probably before the Burren was as mad famous as it is today, and working in the heritage tourism area. So at the time, it was myself and my husband, and it was really my husband who was mad to start a business. I was kind of thinking, oh, I don't know if I really want to start a business, but anyway, he said, no, we'll definitely do it. What are we going to do? And at the time when you'd be doing a bit of research and this was the days before you couldn't do research on the internet, you had to go to places and get books and ring people and say, get information. So, I mean, at the time, the general advice was to stick to what you know, and then kind of stick to what you're passionate about. So like we knew a little bit about the tourism industry, and I was kind of a bit of a chocoholic, to be fair, like, from many, many years standing. And it did seem like a good combination, because we were looking at tourism and what people were buying as tourist gifts to bring home. And there wasn't really that much food. And I always thought, we even coined the phrase, got a coined phrase, edible Ireland, because we thought that'd be a great phrase. I don't know what happened to that at the end of the day, but we worked on developing products, chocolate based products, using these Irish themes. So because we had a heritage background, we went with the Newgrange spiral, the Book of Kells designs, the Clada, so we had a range of sweets with those designs on them, and we went out and we handmade them, and then we sold them. And that's how we got started making chocolates for, as a chocolate making business.
Brilliant. And how did you get it actually developed? Who produced the chocolates for you?
We did it ourselves.
Oh,
I mean, at that stage, there was no such thing as bean to bar. Bean to bar, which is very on trend at the moment, didn't exist. I mean, there's no way, you just couldn't do it. And at the time when we started, there were very few artisan chocolate makers out there. So we taught ourselves, again, going back to getting a book out of the library, for the want of a better phrase, and how to make chocolates. And like, we had this really ancient cottage with 3-foot thick walls and an extremely banjax fridge. We didn't have a premises at the time. We were just doing experiments, and we used to have to try and hold the door open of the fridge and close it, because chocolate only wants to operate at, not below 10 degrees. And you're opening the door of the fridge and closing it and trying to check, was the temperature right? That's how we basically taught ourselves. And from there, we branched out, and we again, back to doing research and figuring out you need to get machinery, hand operated machinery. And we branched out from there, and we eventually got premises to actually produce the chocolates over in another part of County Clare.
So that you'd moved away from Dublin at this stage, and you'd gone to Clare.
Yeah. Oh, we were living in Clare for about 6 years before that, and we started. We were in North Clare, and then we couldn't get a food production premises, because at that stage, I don't think people thought that people should start small, tiny food businesses. This is a long time ago. This is pre-food tourism, pre-small Irish artisan chocolate maker businesses, if you know what I mean. And so a bit of frontier bashing in a bit of a way. And so we ended up having to come over to the east part of Clare, to Lough Derg region, and we have premises here now, which is where I am at the moment.
Brilliant. And I see you've got absolutely brilliant flavors. How did you come up with the ideas for the flavors?
Well, I keep saying to people that, like, one of my favorite parts of actually having a chocolate business or being a chocolate maker is that you can indulge all your fantasies. Every chocolate idea that you ever had, you go, what would that be like? So a lot of it comes from me. What would that be like? And then I have great staff here that work with me as well, and they're not shy about coming up with ideas, like things that they'd like, because chocolate is very versatile. It takes flavors very well, and there's a lot of combinations that you can work together or will work, and you're surprised at how beautifully they work. And then of course we have a lot of customer focus or facing interactions, and we get a lot of suggestions from our customers. I mean, when we started, we used to do farmers markets and things like that, and that was a great way of testing. Here, would you like to try that? And people go, oh God, I love it, and or ooh, that's not great. So I would say our flavors tend to come from all of us, and trends as well. I mean, like, you can't ignore trends. You simply can't ignore them. So like, it's what you like, what's going on trend, and what people are talking to you about. What are people talking about? That's another thing.
Brilliant. So have you evolved away from the books in the library, and have you got on to this thing?
Yeah.
This internet?
Oh, honest to God, we were giving out yards the other day. I was trying to remember, how did you find stuff out before the internet? The internet was down, or I don't know what it was. It was down. Everyone was going, I really need to know, we wanted to find the ingredients of something, or a nutritional information panel for something. And we were going, how do you do it? We've completely become dependent on it. But it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. The internet is an absolute fountain of information and ideas and knowledge. And the thing is if you want to do something, you can find how it's done.
Yeah.
So like, what's there not to learn? You just keep on going on there and going, I'd like to do that, let's do it. So it's great. I love it. I must admit, it's great not to be having to go to books all the time.
So look, as a small artisan producer, what advice would you give to anyone who's thinking about getting into whatever industry it might be?
Ooh.
Particularly food and drink, obviously.
I would definitely try and find a way of getting cash flow.
Okay.
Which, in any way, shape or form, I know it sounds mad, but like, the things that we found really hard when we started was having product out with customers and they weren't paying you, because we weren't really great at collecting it. I must admit, I'm a bit better now, but even today, you're always going, gosh, must get those people to pay me. But I mean, one of the biggest problems is you have great ideas, but you've no money, or you want to do something, but you've no money. And there's something really, really comforting about something coming in the door, like even a tiny amount, but if it comes in the door every week, it just keeps you ticking over. So my number one advice would be, somehow or other, find a way in what you're producing to try and generate immediate cash flow. Now, internet is a fantastic way of doing that if you have the wherewithal. You can set yourself up with a website like Shopify. I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. And if you can do the work and get yourself out there, there is a channel to which you can achieve money coming in the door frequently, even if it's not large. Because if you don't have that'd be my top advice. And then obviously after that, then you've got to be interested in what you're doing. Because if making widgets is a great business idea, but you absolutely despise widgets, it's going to be hard to get past the 5-year learning curve where you don't know what you're doing, you're not making any money, the money's gone out the door, you can't pay the mortgage, and then you're going, and I'm making widgets. So I would say, try and find something that you're really interested in. You don't have to be passionate about it, but find something that's interesting if possible. And I do think, try and find something that you know a little bit about. Again, if you never made widgets before, it's a little bit of a stretch to think I'm going to open up 40,000 square foot widget making factory. I mean, it's not a good step in my book.
Brilliant. And before I get on to asking you about challenges, did you receive any help, be it from, local enterprise agencies or banks or whatever?
Yeah, I have to admit, I mean, I would have said that the local development agencies in Ireland and in the Shannon region, because when we started, it was the Shannon development, and we wouldn't really been able to get up and running without feasibility funding, then without startup funding, and ongoing, an idea, you'd be thinking, oh, it'd be great if we could expand doing this thing. And there are agencies there, especially the local development ones, who really want to support you. And I mean, one of the things that we always find is that we're in a rural part of Ireland, so I think they're quite happy to look favorably on rural based businesses, because that's where they want to try and retain jobs. And we've been, be able to give jobs locally here, because not as a charity, because we need workers, but so I would say we've had fantastic help from Board Bia, Fáilte Ireland, the local enterprise office, and our leader, Clare Local Development Company. So all of the agencies have been massively supportive of what we're doing. So I would say, yeah, they're fantastic.
It's great to hear, and brilliant for our viewers to hear that too, because they can know where to actually go if they're thinking about starting a business.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, there are a few hoops to jump through. I mean, it can be a bit paperworky and a bit, oh my God, do I really have to answer that question 10 times in a row? But, I always say, well, what would you have to do to earn the grant money that you're going to get? Well, you do an awful lot more work than, answer the same question 10 times over. So perseverance with the paperwork is a must, but it is worth it.
Brilliant. And just moving on then, so what challenges have you faced since you started? And obviously there's been ones recently, but just at the outset and from there on.
Well, initially, the initial challenge for our business was, well, we were tragically under capitalized, as is ever the way. And if you can ever get somebody to give you some free money, yay, go for it. But you probably won't. So that will be a challenge that we probably still suffer from today. We're just, in that, you have ideas and you could be a better business if you could do it in a certain way, but it's trying to find the funds to do that, and there's loads of different ways of doing it, but we've chosen to stay small to grow organically. It's very stable. We've even managed to survive a global pandemic so far, fingers crossed. So it's not, you're not going to grow in mass, and there's loads of people who'd say, well, that's a stupid way to go, but it just suited where we were in our lives. So that will be a challenge. Another, and the other challenge that we found was that when we started, people didn't, what do you mean, in Irish people making chocolates in Ireland? Sure, we only get chocolate from Switzerland, or it's Cadbury's. Why would you be competing with Cadbury's? And you're going, I'm not competing with Cadbury's. I'm just trying to sell what I make to you. So that was a bit of a believability curve. But I mean, this would have been pre-Irish artisan food, and that being a whole thing, that we have to support. We've got to have small local businesses. So I mean, I'm making myself sound very old now. I hope I don't look that old.
But you're a trendsetter. That's what you are.
Am I? So I would have found that to be, you have to constantly keep saying, no, but it's worth, that offers, it's worth, taste it, it's worth it. So that would have been the initial challenge. But I mean, we got over that, and eventually all Ireland went on this journey of how to enjoy good food and buy nice wines and have proper, really gorgeous and go out and eat in restaurants. We've all been on a learning curve in Ireland about, we've developed our own taste buds, and we know what we want, and we know we're going to have to pay for really good stuff. So that has been really helpful to us, but that would have been a challenge in the early days. And then I suppose the challenges then are the same now, is how do you manage your time? I mean, I've got my social media now, which is the new sucker up of every single spare minute of your time, which you don't have. So, you've got manage your social media, you've managed your website, you have to take your own photographs for your own website. I mean, who knew that was going to be a thing? You have to figure out how to figure out this iPhone. You have to figure out how to do Zoom. There's so many learning curves that you're never not on simple. You're never not on a learning curve is probably a challenge. But it's exciting as well. I mean, it's not, you're never going to be bored with a small business. You're going to be running around like a mad thing, trying to learn new skills. So, that thing where they say, where you keep on learning as you get older. I think, have a small business, you won't have time to get old. You'll be so busy learning. So I would say, you have to do your own HR now. So there's all these, it's time management, and the hats, the 50 hats, 50 hats you have to wear, and you have to wear them all on the same day. Take one off, put another one on, take one off, put another one on. So it's quite, so I'd say the biggest challenge is how to manage those time issues. How do you manage time, and how do you do all the jobs? Simple.
And tell me, did you get any mentoring help from any of the agencies? Not financial help with mentoring to help with that?
Yeah, yeah. The training again. I'm a great. I'd sign up for every training that goes. To be honest with you, if it's free, I sign up for it. I kind of like the idea that there's agencies out there who are producing programs that would help me. So, I mean, the two most recent ones that we've really benefited by, we did a lean business program with the local enterprise office here, had a lean training, and it was revolutionary because you thought you were being really smart and clever until somebody explained, well, no, there's actually cleverer ways to do it and smarter. So that was really so that kind of training was really fantastic. We've also gotten fantastic mentoring on our web development from Wilde Ireland, because we're involved in tourism as well. So they have they're helping you develop your website and mentoring and how to understand what are you going to get out of a website, how are you going to bring business to it, not just for products but for tourism related bookings and things like that, because we have a little visitor facility in our chocolate factory as well, where people can come and see what we're doing and tell us their ideas for chocolate. So I would have found that I think that the mentoring that's available is top notch, because there's loads. There's different. You can get a mentoring in practically anything you nearly can imagine.
I think you're going to end up an ambassador for Wilde Ireland here.
I probably am. I'm always singing their praises. I mean, now in fairness, the government have given them quite a lot of money. Get that tourism industry back sorted. So I think that yeah. I mean, like I can only say what I've experienced. I don't know what anyone else's experience, but in my experience, that the agencies have been super helpful. Again, there's all this ticking boxes. It would drive you to drink, but on the other hand, it is what it is.
As you said, you're not down a coal mine, so it's not that bad.
No, I'm not. I mean, like there's way worse ways to earn a living, I would say. Being in the coal mine is probably one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at your website, and you have a number of products, obviously including fudge and gift sets and that sort of stuff. Are you going to keep expanding the range? What's the idea?
We have about 80 different products, and a good lot of it isn't on our website, because you can't have 50 million products on your website because you just confuse people. Yeah. So we have a lot more products that are available in our retail. So what we have been looking at, we kind of don't want to give up on a product that we love that no one buys, if you know what I mean. So we've been really looking at our management information to go, oh, look, that's not the best product in this portfolio. Yeah. Why are we keeping on making it? And sometimes it's because I love that product, I don't want to give it up. But I've been getting better now at saying, no, we've got to get rid of it. But the thing is once you realize that you can produce, because we're a small company and we're handmade, we can produce small batches of things, and we can trial them and do the work. So we're working very hard on developing our salted caramel. I mean, that's so on trend now that you could make literally a table out of salted caramel and people think it was brilliant. So I mean, we've been trying to factor that into lots of the things that we're doing. We're looking at developing sugar-free pralines, which we did do 10 years ago. This is how trends change. Like, I was thinking about how do you decide what to do, and trends that you might be very conscious of that are 10 years, like I noticed, oh gosh, sugar-free, type 2 diabetes, that's going to be massive, but it's not massive till now. It just, we went out 10 years ago with this product and it never sold, and we were going, oh, yeah. we must have we misread that, but we were just too early. So we're back. So, how you make, so your product decision making is a mixture of what do you like for starters, what are you currently making, and can you tweak it, to fit a trend. What are people asking you for, and what are people asking for out in the world? People are asking for salt caramel, they're asking for sugar-free stuff, they're asking for vegan stuff. I mean, again, I didn't think vegan was going to be, I didn't think it was going to sustain, but it's actually growing. So, yeah. And it seems to be not necessarily just for philosophical, vegan base. It's to do with climate, biodiversity. It's to do with the whole thing about sustainability. So I'm surprised at that. So even though if I think I have my finger on the pulse, I don't, or else I'm too early or too late. That's it. I'm either before it or behind it.
I told you you're a trendsetter. It seems on the cusp of
Yeah, but
things.
you can't be a trendsetter if you're not at the right time, you know. It's no use to you.
Just need to get your timing right.
Timing is everything. There you go. Moral of story is timing is everything in a small business.
Brilliant. And you know, obviously, you know, we've been through a difficult year and stuff, but can you see that your factory will get a lot more visitors and tours and tastings, and is there opportunities for you?
There's massive opportunities. I mean, people are incredibly interested in where food comes from, where their food comes from. They really want, they're so interested. They want to meet you. They want to meet me, and they want to meet my staff that work with me. It's like, you know, it's like the industrial production of food while we need it and is important, and if we didn't have it, we'd all starve. They also see, well, I want to connect. So it's a lot about connecting with their food and who's making it. So I can see that being really important, and it has been growing. It's not just from COVID, it's way before that. I mean, when we started first, we just had a chocolate factory here, and I mean, literally a knock on the door, and we went to open. I said, "Is this where the chocolate factory is?" And we were going, "Well, why do you want to know?" "Well, because we want to see it." Now, I mean, I didn't open the doors and say, "Hello, I have a chocolate factory, come and visit." People knocked on the door and asked us. So it happened itself. You know, this is a trend that was kind of organic and is just growing and growing and growing. So I do think that there is a lot more hands-on. People want to be hands-on. They want to do what you're doing. They want to try their hand at making what you're making. Now, you know, and the fun, and it's such huge entertainment, and we get a great kick out of, you know, when we get kids here, or we get a kids group, or you know, before COVID we used to have visitors, but at the moment we haven't got any. But you know, we'll get there in the end. We'll get back.
Brilliant. It's great theatre, isn't it, as well? And then obviously people, maybe like children, might develop a taste and come back.
They do. I mean, we do a guided taste testing, and we do, you know, all the cocoa solids from like 100%, i.e. no sugar. And if you had it, we would have had like a school kids group, and I'm talking like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and you'd try that, and you know, 19 of them would be disgusted, and one child would go, "I really like that." And so, I mean, I can't imagine that would have happened 40 years ago. So I do think that the development of the palate is going on with the parents at home, and they're going, "No, you want to try." They're helping us understand and learn how to enjoy food, and that food is where it comes from is important. So they're developing their interest in food, and they know a lot. They know stuff. I say, "Well, where do cocoa beans come from?" They know. You know, they know this stuff. I think I'm teaching them, but they already know before they get here. So it's really exciting.
Brilliant. Well, that actually leads me on to my next question, because I know we can't grow cocoa plants in Ireland, but is there a focus from your business of trying to get as much ingredients as possible from local suppliers?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to get more, but they're not made in, you know, there's only a certain set of things that are made brilliantly in Ireland. You know, because I don't need a pallet full of sea salt, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So quantity, pack size, and the availability, like the chocolate business, we don't need things we can't really use really fresh ingredients because there's too much water in it. This is a technical thing, but so we don't want, you know, fresh strawberries, even though you could go out and buy fresh strawberries, but I can't use them unless I'm doing a fresh product. So I can't use them as a longer stable ingredient. So the things that we use a lot more is like we use sea salt. We use sea salt from the Wilde Atlantic way. We have seaweed. One of our top selling bars is a seaweed and lime bar, and it's using dillisk sprinkles from the Wilde Atlantic sea veg people over in Quilty in County Clare. So we are very interested in it, but it's about trying to get the right product for my particular industry. But even Irish importers or Irish suppliers of things like coffee beans or, you know, hazelnuts or anything like if you can't get the product grown here in Ireland, at least you can get it from an Irish supplier.
Brilliant.
So that, you know, so it doesn't, you might like, you know, we don't grow enough hazelnuts in Ireland to sell to the hazelnut requiring market here. You know, so I don't know, are there any commercially available hazelnut crops in Ireland, for example? I mean, hazelnuts and chocolate are an absolutely they're a marriage made in
Marriage
heaven.
made in heaven,
They're
yeah.
made to be together. But we don't grow a lot of hazelnuts in Ireland, so you have to have hazelnuts. You just couldn't have chocolate without hazelnuts; just wouldn't make sense. So you're forced to go to other companies. But if we could get more products that were suitable for us, we definitely would use them.
Yes, you would. You said they're dulles, as we call it in the north.
Oh yeah, well, there's arguments. There are arguments about how you pronounce it, but yes, dulse, dillisk,
Yes.
dulles. I just go dillisk. In fact, I just say seaweed now because
Take
it's
it
just
easy.
people understand. Oh, seaweed. Yeah, I understand seaweed.
But I definitely think you'll have a market in the north for that, because it's very popular up here, particularly with us people of a certain generation.
Yeah, and seaweeds and periwinkles and things like that. Yeah, but I don't think periwinkle chocolate is going to grow
No.
as
I don't think I'll fly off the shelves.
as a product. No, I mean, we even did chocolate covered bacon one time because this was an American trend, and we thought, oh, we'll try that, but it didn't work. Nobody liked it except me.
I like chocolate and bacon, but maybe not together.
It's an interesting combination, let's say, worth the try.
Oh, brilliant. So tell me, where do you see the chocolate industry going and changing and evolving, Trish?
Yeah. I think there is going to be, I think climate change and sustainability and ethical farming and all of those bubbling, they're not actually bubbling under, they're actually here right now. They're going to change the business of the cocoa producing business in the world because we're learning. Like, I mean, just to going back to 4 or 5 years ago, you would have thought, oh yeah, it'd be great to have sustainable packaging, wouldn't it be? And that'd be the end of your conversation. Today you have to have it. You have to, every customer comes in and says, that plastic, is that plastic you're using on that? So there's a stage, and I think maybe the cocoa bean industry is probably at that stage where people go, the past probably, wouldn't it be great to the next stage, whereas we better do it. We're nearly at the stage where there's no choice. Anybody who doesn't do it won't be selling their product. So I think that there's huge developments coming down the line in terms of the cocoa bean producing countries, ethical farming, sustainability, biodiversity, all of those things. So I do think that's going to feed into the cost of the product. So it's going to be interesting because one of the problems you have as a small business is trying to convince people that it's worth paying for the product because it's made by hand, it's made of extremely high quality, locally, it's all those tick boxes, and people aspire to that, but they just find it hard to get the money out of the they find it hard to wave the credit card at you, because think, oh, I could get that a little bit cheaper somewhere else. So there's going to be a bit of a learning curve in helping people to understand that sustainability, it doesn't come at no cost.
I definitely think we've come a long way in terms of that, and people understanding artisan producers and really good food.
Yeah, we have come a huge distance. So the resistance isn't, it's way less strong. I mean, but there is still a little bit of it. And I mean, the thing that I'm always trying to explain to people is like, if you increase taxes, or if you now make us have to pay small business things like having to pay sick pay for your employees, well, that feeds into the end product's cost. So how do you explain to people, it's not, I don't want the product to be that much, I don't want it to be expensive, but I have to pay pay the taxes, I have to pay for HR, I have to pay for everything has to be paid for. And I think there is still a bit of a disconnect, but we work on it and we explain a lot, and people do listen to you.
They take it on board. So before I ask you the final question, where can we reach Wilde Irish Chocolate? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find us definitely on the internet at wildeirishchocolates.com. We ship all over the world, and we'll ship anywhere. And it's quite reasonable as well. And in retail terms, we're mostly available in small independent speciality retailers and health food shops around the place. Because we used to do a lot of our own retail, but that is kind of gone by the board for COVID reasons. So we've been pushing ourselves back out into the specialty independent retail and tourism retail as well when it's open. So mostly around the Shannon region and the Midwest, and a little bit up and down the west coast of Ireland.
Okay, well, we'll have to get you throughout the 32 counties. Now that
Yeah, I'll have to do it. I have a few overtures from, you know, various companies in the north of Ireland, and you know, it does just takes a little bit of a time to, or you know, to create a good relationship. But you know, it's definitely going to come.
well, everyone watching this, you've heard it here first. You know where to get in contact with Trish. And lastly,
Hopefully.
Trish, this has been amazing, but this is a $6 million question. What's the future for you and Wilde Irish Chocolate?
Hmm. Well, the future for, well, before COVID, I would have had one answer. And after COVID, now I have a different answer. I suppose we're looking, the future for us is a good bit more of the same, you know, keep on being better, trying to be more efficient, you know, making your product so that you can keep your prices at, you know, reasonable, developing more into the retail, you know, trade, the wholesale and the retail trade. We're definitely looking at corporate, because we got massive corporate support, loads over, you know, since COVID began. And obviously they're realizing that no, it's good to give our money to small family run small businesses, because it's got all sort of, you know, corporate social responsibility stuff. It's fantastic. So there's loads of stuff like that out there. And definitely our visitor here in the Ireland City and Heartlands region here in County Clare. I mean, the Ireland City and Heartlands really goes all the way up along the Shannon. So I mean, it's perfect little corridor down the middle of Ireland, and people are looking at slow tourism and, you know, trying to interact with a slower pace of tourism, a little less frenetic, not so, you know, the popular hotspots, because these are lovely hotspots, but they're cool. They're so they're so hot, they're cool, if you know what I mean, or they're so cool, they're hot. So I mean, so tourism is, we'll never give up on tourism. So I mean, we're just going to keep on working on developing our tourism offering and making our people chance to visit the factory here and see what we're doing and interact with us, because we find that much to our pleasure as well as theirs. I hope, and I hope they're enjoying it as much as we do.
Absolutely brilliant. Look, that was an amazing insight into the run of an artisan business, one which is very nice. I have to say, I love chocolate and I can't wait to taste it. And you've done an amazing job, and I really wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance to talk a lot about stuff that I know a little bit about.
Well, absolutely brilliant. And from Amazing Food and Drink, thanks very much for participating.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Best of luck.